Welcome to the Voice of Florida Architecture, the podcast of AIA Florida. I'm your host, Rhonda Hammond, AIA. In early August of this year, AIA Florida gathered in Tampa, Florida for its annual convention and trade show. The pinnacle of our convention is the annual Design and Honors Award. The gold medal is the highest award that AIA Florida can bestow on one of its members, and only one is given each year. The award honors an individual architect in Florida who has distinguished themselves in a manner resulting in a profound impact on the profession over an extended period. The individual's long-term, noteworthy accomplishments in AIA Florida, as well as community organizations and governmental bodies, must demonstrate distinguishable results characterizing one's career in a manner over and above what is normally expected. This year's gold medal winner is Nathan Butler, FAIA. Welcome, Nathan, and thank you for being here to share your story.
Thank you, Rhonda. I'm really excited to be here and very much looking forward to talking with you today.
So before we get into any details, as become the tradition here on the podcast, we'd like you to share your journey or your story of deciding to become an architect.
Well, Rhonda, my story is very much rooted in family. I received a lot. I was very fortunate to receive a great deal of family support. Discovered architecture and discovered it my father was an engineer and worked across different kinds of systems and actually worked on weapons design during the Cold War years.
Wow.
And he probably shouldn't have brought me to the office with him to see things, but every now and then, bring your kid to work day, and I'd go and see him and his colleagues working on design of these different systems and components and fabrication and testing as well, which just fascinated me about what they were doing and what they were working on. And my mother was a school teacher and was also very interested in the arts and in painting. Music. She played, different instruments and sang. Really instilled that kind of appreciation in myself and in my brothers as well. And so I've always felt like this blend of this sort of design-oriented and technical background blended with the arts really shaped my upbringing. I never really had any exposure to architecture as a career path until I got into my early college years, really after graduation from high school, and started really looking at career pathways more seriously. And architecture wasn't anything that was brought to me in grade school, for example, as a career path. So you really had to find it on your own. So I've always credited my parents and my family with the support, in the background to really come into it and to recognize it as a great career field. And I definitely found when I was making some decisions about majors and going into college that architecture to me looked like it had a lot of things in it that I might be good at, and it didn't have things I already knew I was bad at, like chemistry and biology and things like that. So it was a very appealing field from that standpoint too.
I can understand that one.
Playing to my strengths.
Your award submission states through 30 years of sustained professional service and leadership at the local, state, and national levels, your contribution to AIA Florida and its place within communities and the profession has been transformational. That's a lifetime of service, Nathan. What's your motivation?
I would say, Rhonda, again, back to that idea of family and my upbringing. My family instilled in me and my brothers too this idea of stewardship and of taking care of what you have and being able to build on it, make it better, and be able to pass it along to someone, those who are coming behind us. And so that idea of stewardship was something that was instilled in me at a very early age. And as I grew into my career and into the profession, it's carried through. It's been sort of a through line for me that our profession doesn't just take care of itself, that we have to have people who are good stewards of it and can help to move it forward, push it forward, and build on it, make it better for all of the future generations that are coming behind us. So that's always been an integral part of my approach to what I've done through leadership and service.
I grew up with an uncle that was a general contractor, and his motto was that you left it better than you found it. And that's always been on the forefront of my thought pattern on how you serve. So that sounds very much like what you're talking about. So as you're aware, as immediate past president, I now am serving as the chair of AIA Florida Strategic Council, which is forward-looking and future-focused, exploring upcoming trends that may directly impact or influence the practice profession of architecture. I did not know, but I understand that you're one of the founders of this council, created in 2015. So tell us about that time in history of AIA Florida and what was the thinking process that led to this decision?
That period of time in 2014 and 15, I guess I would call it a sort of a confluence of different factors that came together at the right time to
Mm-hmm.
make some decisions about how AIA Florida was structured, how it was governed, and what some of the sort of opportunities and some of the constraints within that model were. And the idea really behind forming the Florida Strategic Council was born out of this idea that the AIA board leadership was operating well now into the 21st century, but really operating on a 20th century model. And
Mm-hmm.
that we had an opportunity to really modernize the leadership framework for AIA Florida, and out of that create this council that could be forward looking or looking, further out on the horizon at trends, at influences that are coming that are going to affect the profession for the future and are going to
Mm-hmm.
shape the profession for the future, and to put us in more in the driver's seat in terms of how we can prepare and be proactive as a profession in our state, in our region, to be best prepared to adapt and best prepared to lead through significant changes that we saw coming
Mm-hmm.
for the profession. And we felt like a body, like a strategic council, would be an important body to have so that we could leverage thought leadership in ways that we didn't have access to before. The previous model, our board was really more tasked with governance and with the operation, the administration of the association, which are very important things to have as well, but it left little time to really get beyond that, to really tap into expertise and thought leadership, to take on big ideas and address significant problems in new ways.
With that in mind, this year's council is addressing the challenges we face within the framework of relevance. So share your thoughts on the idea of discovering and leveraging and maintaining relevance for the profession and the association as well.
I'm really excited to know that that's taking place within the council, and definitely as someone who was there when the council was founded, when the council first started, to see issues like this being taken up and moved forward is really wonderful and really exciting. I think now is the time to really dig deep into this idea of relevance and what it means for us as architects.
Mm-hmm.
We're definitely into a time now where I think because of the proliferation of new tools, new technologies, new processes, that what we do as architects, as designers, is in some respects at risk of being, I guess maybe for lack of a better word, marginalized through these technological tools that are very accessible, very open platforms for anybody to use, which in many ways is a good thing. It's wonderful, but I think it really shines a light on the need for us to really set ourselves apart from the standpoint of value that's grounded in who we are and what we can bring to the table that is beyond what you can do through the mere application of tools, to really be able to leverage the thought leadership that resides within our profession in ways that our communities, our clients that we serve, can really come to view us as bringing value because of what we know and who we are and what we can do. Rhonda, I feel like if we don't define our worth, our value, then others are going to define it for us. And I think to me, that's sort of the bottom line, that this council taking up this issue at this time is profoundly important.
I agree with you. So you chaired the governance task force in 2015 and championed empowering component leadership, Looking back, how do you think those decisions have impacted the component?
Looking back on it, Rhonda, I think going back to that idea of modernization that I mentioned earlier in reference,
Hmm.
to the formation of the Strategic Council in Florida. I think this idea that our previous framework for leadership and for governance of the association was born out of a context that was very much grounded in the 20th century and the way the organization, the association operated then. And I think with the governance task force, that the efforts that we undertook through that in 2015, what we really endeavored to do was to modernize this idea of creating opportunities for volunteer leadership and volunteer leaders to have impact, to have greater influence in what they're doing, and to really be able to access the energy, the enthusiasm that resides there, and make the experience of volunteer leadership in the AIA one that really demonstrates tremendous value and impact for someone, in the growth of their career, the growth of
Yeah.
themselves as a professional. And I think a huge part of that was creating space and opportunity for people who are early in their career to lead and to take up leadership positions and leadership roles within the association, and to do things in ways that they wouldn't otherwise be able to do within the context of where they are in their practice or the arc of their career. It can it presents opportunities to stretch and grow into new areas, which we desperately need for our profession, is to be training, growing, developing the next generation of leadership for the profession.
So, speaking of leadership, I believe that the association will be hosting its seventh cohort of graduates of the Jacob Leadership Program. So, you also were involved in the founding of that program. Tell us about that and how you feel it's important I guess you probably just explained why it's important for the association. So, just tell us about your involvement.
Yeah, happy to. This program, the Jacob Leadership Institute, was something that had really been a dream of ours in terms of the board leadership at AIA Florida for a very long time, and having a leadership development program that was of our own making, our own authorship as AIA Florida, that created a framework, as I did mention earlier, that offered up opportunities for people at any point in your career, but I think particularly for people who are early in their career development, to have access to resources and have access to opportunities that they may not otherwise get. And so we saw that as critically important. I think some of that thinking was born out of, or in some ways emphasized, highlighted by the recession years of 2007,
Hmm.
2008, where we saw so much disruption, not only in our profession, but in all professions. And in that, there was a tremendous amount of attrition of people leaving the profession, not by their own choosing, but just out of
Hmm.
necessity to go and find something to do. And at the same time, we were starting to see trends of our pipeline getting smaller too, right? People going into the profession, being at risk of reduced numbers there too. We really felt like this was an important undertaking to take on so that we could have this infrastructure, as I mentioned, that was of our own making, that we're not adopting from somewhere else, but this is of our own design, that enables us to build a next generation of leaders that we know we will need. And so it's exciting to see how it's matured over these past 10 years. We started small. We really started it out as a leadership track within the Florida conference each year. So
Hmm.
as you were registering for the conference, for example, you could select specific Jacob Leadership Institute courses in your convention curriculum, your program, that all linked together and created this. And it was just a way of quickly, easily, and inexpensively getting some content together and getting
Hmm.
it out there. And then from that, we felt like we could build on that and use it as a stepping stone to get to where it is today, which is to have it be a standalone program that
Hmm.
year in and year out is very focused and is very, deliberate in terms of how we are selecting candidates and then assembling a curriculum for those candidates to take advantage of for leadership and growth for the future. So it's really wonderful to see how it's matured, how it's grown from where we started.
I believe last year was the first year there was a waiting list to get into the program. So that's exciting. And not
Yes.
only that, I was part of the inaugural group of the standalone program. And so was Adam Gale, our president for 2026. He was in that class with me as well.
It's
So,
working. And I would say
yes.
too, Rhonda, another aspect of it was this idea of building, creating leaders for the profession, but also expanding awareness and opportunity for architects to get engaged in the public setting as well. And so I think another goal, a stretch goal within that framework is to help position anyway architects to lead within the profession as you have and you are doing, Rhonda and Adam and others, and to also encourage architects to get involved in a public arena, to run for office
Hmm.
at any level. And so we need more architects in the policy space and in policy making. And,
Absolutely.
and we felt like this program is a great way to build on that.
So you were AIA Florida president in 2014. Now, I was going to ask you what your most treasured contribution it was, but I think you've already mentioned so many. I don't know if I want to ask you that or not. It'd be hard to pick. But what if you just share your experience and how you've seen the association has grown?
Happy to. For me personally, that the opportunity to serve in that capacity at AI Florida has really been the most rewarding experience of my career, to be able to interface with people all across the state and then beyond, to interface with counterparts across the nation and even internationally around common issues was
Mhm.
just so incredible. And the relationships, the friendships and relationships, and the colleagues that you get to know over that time are just they stay with you for the rest of your the rest of your career, which is just wonderful. So those are all great things. I think for me, through all that, it was really an incredible opportunity for me personally to grow my leadership skills and my abilities as well. As you've experienced too, it's a position where you really are put in situations where you've got to build consensus, you've got to
Mhm.
interface with many different stakeholders within the association, within the AIA, but beyond that as well, and interfacing with NCARB, touching points with NAB, with accreditation, and with each of the
Mhm.
schools of architecture in different ways, and then licensure, getting involved with the Board of Architecture and Interior Design, and facilitating communications, and then advocacy, all the different things that kind of go into that, and how you start to really see when you get into the leadership roles like that, how everything really is interconnected, intertwined. It's incredible to me. It's always been incredible to see the amount of passion and energy that goes into it by so many different people in each of those different aspects to make our profession really strong and one that continues to just have incredible value for our communities and for the future.
So the AIA National Convention was held in Orlando in 2017, and you served as the director of the on-site events committee. What was it like to coordinate a national convention?
That was an incredible experience, Rhonda. Having the national convention in your backyard is a really amazing experience, and I've always felt so honored to have been able to be a part of planning for it. And I actually, even prior to that, I had the opportunity to be part of the sort of recruiting effort to bring a national convention to Orlando when the selection committee was coming in from AI National to look at
Mhm.
Orlando as a candidate site. We were competing with other cities elsewhere in the country, and so we knew we had to bring our A game. We knew who we were up against, and so all of being part of all of the effort that went into making that happen and being successful and being selected for it was really awesome. And then I don't know that many people remember or realize this, but originally Orlando was selected for the convention in 2019, and we ended up getting moved up 2 years. And so once all the decisions were made and we had all our planning committees put together, we quickly were notified we had 2 less years to work with. So
Oh,
so we
wow.
had to really step it up, and our group that we had assembled was just an incredible team. And as you mentioned, I got to be the one to run point on the on-site aspects of this, but then we had others who were taking care of the off-site and
Mhm.
other components of the experience for the Orlando chapter. And so it was just an incredible thing. I think the on-site um, framework and what the program we put together for that was really pretty profound kind of cross section a representation of the profession, its current state and future state, and then even sharing in the history of the profession, not only here in Orlando, but we really worked to stretch it across the state and further out, geographically. And a big part of that was creating a hub, physical place on the convention floor, which served as sort of a community connector point. So it was a place where we had exhibit, content on display. We had a kind of a lounge area where people could just come and relax for a little bit and take care of some work things, email, phone calls, what have you. So it was a little kind of business hub there, but we also had a shop, an AI mini bookstore, just for Florida. And we had authors come in. Guy Peterson came in and did book signings, for example, and Ron Hasse and others. And then we brought in local artists and kind of shared some of the talents and did it in an engaging way where attendees were able to come and participate and be part of the art that was going on and part of the experience. So that was great. And then we also, along with that, we put together what we called the Super Studio, which brought in student work from all 6 of the accredited universities in the state of Florida. And we engaged with faculty and with students. We got students to the conference and were able to have their work on exhibit there at the conference. And that's just about the only time I can remember having all 6, the work of all 6 universities kind of represented in an exhibit in one spot,
That's
which was
phenomenal.
really great. And then linking in K-12 too, we linked up with the ACE Mentor affiliate here in Central Florida and brought the ACE Mentor kids, their high school students, juniors and seniors, to the convention, got them all passes and got them onto the convention floor. And they had a blast, as you can imagine, especially with the technology tools out there on the convention floor, and being able to experiment with virtual reality and kind of see more about some of tools and technologies in the industry that particularly those kids are going to have the opportunity to learn and grow with as they go forward. So it was just an incredible experience all around, especially to be able to bring that full spectrum together in one place and connect all those dots was really something for me that was really impactful and incredibly worthwhile.
It's obvious that mentorship is one of your passions. Are you still involved with the ACE program?
I am, yes. Yeah, I am one of the group of the founding members of the ACE board here. We started the ACE Mentor program right around 2008 here in Central Florida. ACE is a national mentorship organization that's focused on architecture, construction, and engineering. And we recognize that we didn't have an affiliate here in Central Florida. So we felt that there was a missing piece there. And in addition to me, this was a mixture of contractors and engineers and people all across the design and construction base here that got together. And we were able to pull the resources together to fund the formation of an ACE program that since then has grown to serve counties and school districts all across Central Florida and to bring forward really important scholarship funds for students. And we've been able to link up with universities as well in partnership with some of those scholarships. So we've been really excited to see how that has grown and taken shape. And I'm still active, still on the board with ACE today and continuing to help the growth and maturity of that program as we're moving forward.
You represented AIA Florida at the national level in many roles. Share about serving on the National Strategic Council.
For me, that was an incredible experience to be able to take what I had learned from forming the AIA Florida Strategic Council, the state strategic council that we talked about earlier, to sort of bring some of that experience to the national level. It was a 3-year term that I served on the National Strategic Council, which stretched from 2018 to 2020. So it ran right into the pandemic, which was a really interesting time to be at national and to be able to bring that experience with me to national, going through that transition from a pre-pandemic model into the pandemic. It really exposed just how important the level of connectivity is and how important having a strategic body like a strategic council that leverages thought leadership that we talked about earlier is and can be for the future, because we really went into the unknown, when the pandemic set in particular. And so the Strategic Council was really able to kind of pull together and look at how we continue, and then to advising the AIA at the national level on best practices for operations in terms of governance, even looking at elections and how we were recruiting new members into the council and how to sustain connectivity across members of the council and to tap into more resources for what are called at-large members for
Mhm.
the council as well, which those individuals really bring specialized, unique knowledge to bear. And I think that that chance over those 3 years to really be right in the middle of that sort of profound transformation with impacts that have rippled out to today as the pandemic changed so much about how we think about our connectivity and collaboration.
Mhm.
That was a really significant time for me to be there, one that I've always been grateful in many ways to been able to be there at that time to be able to share knowledge that I could bring that could help in the process.
Well, you've blazed the trail, so to speak, because currently we have 3 members from Florida that are serving on the council. And I think that's great that we have that kind of representation at the
Yeah,
national level.
I agree. I think it's a great point because I think it highlights how AIA Florida, how much impact and influence AIA Florida really has at the national level, which is something I think all of us in Florida could be really proud of, that we as a state component really are looked upon as leaders and as a group that is very forward-looking, forward-thinking in how we take care of our component and how we position our component for success for the future.
Nathan, you're a member of the College of Fellows for AIA, being recognized with AIA's highest membership honor for exceptional work and contributions to architecture and society. So talk about being elevated to fellowship.
It's a humbling experience, Rhonda, and it's one that the elevation experience, the ceremony is definitely a highlight of one's career, for sure. It is a top 5 day in your life. And I was honored to be elevated to the College of Fellows in 2018. I've always looked at it as I guess I should say I've come to view it as I can't say I've always looked at it this way, but I have come over the years to look at it in this way, that it's an honor that no one can really achieve it on their own. By its nature of the process, it's designed in a way that you have to have support from colleagues, from clients, from stakeholders that you've worked with throughout the whole arc of your career. In pursuing and applying for fellowship, it's really an introspective process and really having to look
Mhm.
at deep inside and look at, what are the things that you've accomplished, what are the impacts that you've had, and who has helped you along the way, and how best to integrate their input to really tell the story and show the impact that you've had in measurable ways. Sometimes when I'm speaking with people about fellowship, they will ask or they'll wonder, well, why is it important? Why, especially when I'm talking about with people, encouraging them to apply for fellowship. Sometimes the pushback I get is that people are reluctant because they don't feel like they want to put themselves out there in that way. That it feels boastful in a way in some
Yeah.
respects, and which I understand. Which is, I guess, bringing me back to what I said earlier, that I really have through my own experience, have come to really recognize fellowship as being important and significant because of its relationship to the profession as a whole. It relates to architects and to architecture, that it's not so much a recognition of an individual's past accomplishments, but it's more of an acknowledgement of what those accomplishments can mean for the future of our profession. So when I do get that kind of resistance from individuals who may say things like I'm not worthy or I'm not ready, that I always tell them, look, I get you, I get it, I understand where you're coming from, but you have to understand that it's not about you. It is about the profession and
Mhm.
what you mean for its future.
That's a different perspective from I've heard. I met you, I believe, during one of the demystifying fellowship sessions that we have at convention. I'm just wanting to see what the session was all about. I'm one of those that think, I'm not ready. So we'll see. I had not heard it spoken in that perspective before.
Yeah, I think it's important. I think every profession, not only architecture, but I think that every profession needs to have and should have examples
Mm-hmm.
of people who have, through accomplishments that they've done with others, with support, have moved the profession forward, right? Have advanced
Mm-hmm.
the profession. Yeah, I definitely offer encouragement for for anybody who has or is considering it to think of it more in that respect. And I think in a lot of ways that it can help you kind of understand the bigger picture.
So you've been a member of AIA for many years, serving in multiple capacities, as we've heard today, representing AIA Florida with such honor. Why is membership in AIA so important?
That's a great question. It's a big question. People enter into membership in the AIA at different points in their career, and everyone has a different experience. For myself, I became an AIA member really as soon as I could. As soon as I was eligible to be an associate member, I joined up. I really came to realize over time as I got more involved and more engaged in the AIA that it truly is like so many things in life that you really get out of it what you put into it.
Mm-hmm.
Seeing the AIA as a platform that enables us to advocate for ourselves and to be able to do it at scale, right, in collaboration with so many other people, to be able to set ourselves apart, have high standards that we set for ourselves through our ethics, through our purpose
Mm-hmm.
as architects. That to me, I see the AIA as a platform for all those things, and for us to be able to create knowledge, to share knowledge in a way that supports our own needs, our human needs, right, for connectivity, to support the important role that we can play in professional service and community engagement. I think, as we've talked through the course of this discussion, that it's also a great proving ground for emerging talent, right, for leadership and growth, and to find opportunities within and find space within to be able to do things that you otherwise either couldn't do or wouldn't be able to do until much later in your career if you wait. So that's why I've always felt like that for me, AIA membership has been very important for those reasons.
And you get to create that AIA family, those relationships that
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And it's an encouraging and supportive network that you create, and one that offers up the opportunity for you to just go and get the kind of experiences you need to grow, as a professional, and not have to wait for opportunity to come, but to be able to go grab it within the AIA is a great part of what you get, when you get involved and become a member.
The gold medal is AIA Florida's highest honor, and you're most deserving of this recognition. Nathan, it's been such an honor to share your story with our members. You're such an inspiration and role model. Thank you for being here today and for the many years of service to our profession and the association too.
Thank you, Rhonda. It's been a pleasure. I appreciate the opportunity to share any insight with you today, and always happy to talk with you all.
Okay. I hope our listeners have enjoyed the conversation with Nathan Butler, FAIA, the 2025 AIA Florida's gold medal winner. And I hope you found many reasons to be inspired and motivated to find your own unique way to serve. Thank you for listening to this episode. Please share that others may hear our stories. You can find us wherever you stream your podcast. This is Rhonda Hammond, AIA, your host. Thank you for listening to this episode of The Voice of Florida Architecture, a podcast of AIA Florida.